Here's the situation. Your team is playing in a tournament game and you're tied with your opponent. It's late in the game and you're coming up to bat with no outs and a runner on first. You take one step into the batter's box and you look at your third base coach and you see a bunt sign. What's going through your mind right now? Are you confident that you can execute this bunt properly for your team? Or do your hands start to sweat and you wish somebody else was batting? Even though bunting seems like a lost skill sometimes, it's still an absolutely essential tool in baseball that can be used to win games. In today's Bullpen Bulletin, we're learning the proper mechanics on how to bunt effectively. And I'm also going to go over the different types of bunts that you can execute on the field. Hey team, I'm Coach Hart with Building Better Baseball, and this is the best place for baseball education. If this is your first video, I'd like to say welcome to the team. If we've met before, then I'd like to say welcome back. This channel is for youth baseball players and coaches to help them improve their game. I come out with weekly videos that cover all areas of baseball. Plus, I always have a free downloadable guide for you down in the description to help take your game even further after this video. So don't miss that at the end. Now, let's make sure that we know how to perform a bunt. Number one, we're going to go over the proper bunting mechanics. Now the first part is your stance. The stance is an essential part of bunting because it's really the foundation that everything else is built off of. And if you don't have a strong stance, then everything else kind of falls apart because there's no foundation. When you do your bunting stance, you're in your batting stance like this, and all you want to do when you bunt is just turn your body like this without moving your feet. You want to keep your feet in the same position, and you want to turn your body like this to face the pitcher like this. And you want to do this for two reasons. The first reason is that if you move your feet when you bunt and you contact the ball like this, you have the possibility of stepping on home plate. If you step on home plate and you contact the ball, you're going to be called out. You can't be stepping on home plate while you're contacting the ball. Same thing with hitting. If you were hitting like this and for some reason you stepped on home plate to hit the ball outside and you stepped on home plate, you would be called out. So when you do your bunting stance, if you go like this and face the pitcher and move your feet and you step on home plate and contact the ball, you're going to be called out. And the second reason is that your entire body is exposed to getting hit by the ball. If the ball is thrown inside, it's almost impossible to get out of the way, and you're exposing your entire front, including your face, to the ball hitting you if the ball is thrown inside. So that's why in your stance, all you want to do is turn around like this to keep your feet in the same position, because if the ball is thrown inside, it's very easy to turn your back like this and turn away from the ball, and if the ball ends up hitting you, it hits you in the back instead of the face. Now the second part of your stance is the hand and the bat positioning. So when you grip the bat, your bottom hand should stay right where it is on the bottom near the knob, but your top hand should move up towards the middle of the bat in between the barrel and the handle. And when you grip the bat with your top hand, you're only gripping it in between your index finger and your thumb right here, and you're gripping it right there. You don't want to grip the bat like this, because why? The ball could hit your hand, right? We don't want that to happen. So you take it like this and you grip it in between these two fingers like this when you grip the bat for your bunt, just like that. Now the second part is the bat positioning with the handle and the barrel. The one tip I have is that you always want to keep the barrel above the handle. You never want the barrel to go below the handle like this. Like this. This results in a lot of misses, foul tips, and pop-ups. If the barrel is above the handle like this, then that can get the ball on the ground more often than if it was like this. You could have it straight like this, but even this results in a lot of pop-ups and foul tips. So always keep the barrel slightly above the handle, almost in a diagonal line, just like this. That should be the positioning of the bat the entire time. And another thing is the bat positioning. You want to have your bat out in front of you with extended arms. You want it out in front of you and almost in line with your eyesight. So when you have it out in front, that's very easy to see where the ball is going to be pitched and where the contact needs to be made. If you're standing up like this, or you have the bat out in front like this and it's not on your eye level, that's very hard to make contact with the pitch that's all the way down here. You want to get in eye level with the pitch and get your bat out in front so you can see where the contact needs to be made. That's much easier than having it back into your body like this. You want to have it out in front with extended arms. The last part we're going to go over for the stance is your bunting direction, how you can directionally bunt and place the ball in different areas of the field. So in order to get the ball down the first base line or the third base line in different directions, you're going to keep the bat in the same positioning, but you're going to use your top hand as almost like a swivel. It's almost like a sideways seesaw where your top hand is the middle of the seesaw and the seesaw goes up and down like this. That's what it's going to be like, but it's going to be like this. In order to get the ball down the first base line, if you're a right-handed batter, you're going to push the handle away from you to get it to this side. In order to get it down the first base line, you're going to pull the handle towards you like this. It's because that angles the barrel towards the third baseline. That's how you're going to hit the ball to different directions rather than hitting it straight back to the pitcher. And as far as the different height, in order to change the height of the bat, you want to use your legs to change the height of the bat. Use your legs. You don't want to use your arms to move the bat. The ball is hard enough to hit with a stationary bat, with the bat not moving. You're making it so much harder on yourself by moving the bat up and down like this. Use your legs to move the height up and down, just like this. You're going to be here. If the ball is lower, I'm going to lower like this. If it's higher, I'm going to go up. I'm going to go up and down like this to change the height of the bat. Notice how my bat is not moving, right? I'm not going like this. I'm going like this. That is much easier to hit the ball because the bat is not moving. You're moving your legs, right? So if it's a curveball, if you're trying to bunt a curveball, you're going to start up here, but then it's going to break down here, right? So you would go like that. You would go down like this rather than going like that. That's not how you want to bunt because, first of all, that put the barrel below the handle, right? When you go like this, you're reaching for it, and that would just be a pop-up or a foul tip. So a full proper bunting stance looks like this. I'm going from my batting stance like this. I'm ready to bunt, so I swivel around like this. I put my top hand up here. I get it out in front of my body, and I get into like almost a lunge position out in front. If I want to go this side, I pull the bat like this. If I want to go that side, I push it like this, right? And if it's low, I go down, higher, up here. Number two, we're going to talk about a sacrifice bunt. Now, a sacrifice bunt is exactly what it sounds like. It's a sacrifice. You're sacrificing yourself in order to move the base runner to the next base. When you sacrifice, it is no secret that you're bunting. Everybody in the whole stadium should know that you're bunting. So make sure you give yourself enough time to square around and get in the proper positioning in order to get ready to bunt. Now, I'm not saying to square around or start there when the pitcher's not even on the rubber, right? But at least when the pitcher is about to start their motion, you should be squared around and you should be ready to bunt. Because like I said, you're not trying to hide it. It's no secret that you're bunting. When you sacrifice, the only place that you do not want to bunt it is back to the pitcher. You want to get it to either side of the field, either the first base side or the third base side. And another tip is to make sure that the bunt is down before you start running. Make sure you have successfully bunted the ball before you start running to first base. Because remember, your job in a sacrifice is to bunt the ball. It's not to be safe at first base. That would just be a bonus if that happened. But your number one priority is to get that bunt down as successfully as you can. So make sure the ball is bunted, it's on the ground, and then you can start running. Your job is to bunt the ball, it's not to be safe at first. And hey, if you like this video so far and you'd like more, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of my weekly videos that are exactly like this one. Now let's move on to number three. Number three, we're going to go over bunting for a base hit. Now, bunting for a base hit is a little different than a sacrifice. When you're trying to get a hit by bunting, you're trying to be sneaky about it and keep it hidden for as long as you can. Normally, you're probably going to be a fast runner who can beat out the throw, or you see a certain type of positioning by the defense that you can take advantage of. Maybe like the third baseman is playing deep in their position, and at the same time, you have a right-handed pitcher who falls off to the first base side every time they release the ball. That would be a great time to lay a bunt down the third baseline because they're probably not going to field it before you get to first. There are two types of bunts that you can use to try and bunt for a base hit, and both of them have slightly different mechanics that you're going to use to execute each one. If you want to get a base hit down the third baseline, you're going to do something called a drag bunt. And if you want to get a base hit down the first baseline, you're going to do something called a push bunt. And we're going to go over those in tips 4 and 5. Number 4, we're going to talk about a drag bunt. Now, a drag bunt is a bunt that's placed down the third baseline for either a righty or a lefty. And you'll use a drag bunt when you see some sort of thing in the defense that you can take advantage of. And if you're a right-handed batter, you're going to be in your stance as long as you can. And at the last second, you're going to be here in your positioning, and you're going to pull the handle to your body like this to angle the barrel like we talked about in point number 1. Your footwork is a little different than the sacrifice bunt if you wanted to. So the sacrifice, you're just going to use your feet like this and not move them. Some good bunters who like to bunt for a base hit, when they do their drag bunt, they like to go like this. You see how my feet changed? I am in a running stance and I'm ready to run as soon as the ball hits the bat. I have the bat out in front. I pull the handle towards me to angle the barrel towards third base, and I'm already in my sprinting stance ready to go to first base. So that's a drag bunt down the third baseline. You can do it for a lefty or a righty, and that's a very popular way to bunt for a base hit. Number 5, we're going to talk about a push bunt. So the last bunt for this video is called a push bunt, and the push bunt is on the right side, on the first base side of the field. And in order to do a push bunt, for a right-handed batter, you're going to push the handle away from you to angle that barrel towards first base. And it's the opposite for the lefty. For the lefty, you're going to be here and you're going to pull it in towards your body and you're going to hit it down the first baseline. So it's basically the opposite of the drag bunt. So the strategy behind this bunt is, as I said, the placement is everything for this bunt. If you can imagine a triangle that's made from the pitcher, the first baseman, and the second baseman, picture that triangle. You want to have the ball settle right in the middle of that triangle. So you want to have enough force, you want to push the ball with enough force where the pitcher cannot field it, where it gets past the pitcher, but then it settles right in between the first and the second baseman, where it's in that awkward spot where they don't know who's going to field it. So that positioning in the field right there, you have the first baseman running off of the bag sometimes the pitcher doesn't cover, sometimes the second baseman is playing deep and they can't get there in time. There's just a lot going on when that ball is in that positioning right there, where they don't really know who's going to cover and who's going to field the ball. And if it's done correctly, the push bunt is a very, very hard bunt to field and get the runner out. Now, the one bunt I did not cover in this video was a squeeze bunt. And a squeeze bunt is when you have a runner on third base and you're trying to score them with a bunt. But there's a whole lot involved with the squeeze bunt that I could make a whole video about it, and that's another video for another time. So one place you'll have to show off your bunting skills is in tryouts, right? And I know the tryouts are happening right now for fall teams, and you might be wondering if it's worth it to try out for a travel baseball team. If you need any help making that decision, or you want more information on the difference between rec and travel baseball, I have a free rec versus travel baseball guide for you down in the description. This guide explains the main differences between the two levels, and it lays out 5 clarifying questions for you that you should answer to help make your decision. It's free, and I made it for you if you'd like more help. Make sure you grab it before you go. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I hope this video helped you understand how to perform one of the most underrated skills in baseball, and now you can go out and you can bunt with confidence in any situation. I'll see you next week for another edition of the Bullpen Bulletin.